You can have martial law without declaring martial law quite easily in a civilized society. Meow! Huples cat! Currently I'm sitting in an armchair and I'm a prepper. So the Armchair Prepper is going to review this trilogy. We're going to look at two themes today: violence and policing. Along the way we're going to look at why those themes are there. We're going to look at how realistic those themes are. There will be spoilers. I'm not going to reveal any of the details from the 3 murders in the books. Each book starts and ends with a murder and it gets solved. So part of the beauty of these books is figuring out who did it and why and how, and it gets quite complicated. But from my point of view, I like this because it gives me a 6-month window into the collapse of society. Money, power and wealth definitely insulates you, and it insulates you in these books for a while. Pill Hill, the upscale West Concord neighbourhood that wraps around the hospital, where its surgeons and administrators and attending physicians live in tasteful colonials, these days a lot of these homes are patrolled by private duty security guards. Gun bulges under their winter coats, as if all of a sudden this is a third world capital. Armed security to a point is useful. When there is a total breakdown of law and order, they may well turn on you as well. I'm not suggesting it's not a good idea to have private security if you can afford it. I am saying don't rely on it in a situation faced in this book as being 100% reliable until the end. In this book, the American government has done the IPSS Act. Part of that is they banned ownership of guns and actually made some efforts initially to get them out of people's hands. This causes the inevitable problem. Gun theft is a problem. People are stealing them and hoarding them, and other people are stealing them to sell for astronomical sums to the first kind of people. I'm not convinced the American government would do gun seizures. They might offer cash for guns, they might offer food for guns later on, but I don't think they'd ever have gone door to door looking for guns, certainly not in a lot of the states where gun ownership is very prevalent. Would have caused more instability than it was going to cure. But everyone knows, or at least everyone in law enforcement is fairly certain, that the organisation of the United States military has been extensively revamped, its powers and resources expanded. Fairly sure this is definitely what's going to happen in almost every single country. You can have martial law without declaring martial law quite easily in a civilized society. I'm now going to look at violent responses to this asteroid impact as detailed in the middle book of this trilogy. Private ownership or sale of firearms is technically forbidden, although the brief wave of house-to-house searches ended months ago. Again, I don't know how successful that would be, and I don't think they would ever do that. But it is a topical thing, and it's going to definitely make some preppers think, yes, they'll come for my guns. Don't actually think they ever would in this type of situation. Hopefully we'll never find out. So about halfway through Countdown City, we get an actual example of what violence might look like. As we get closer, past the flagpole, they both raise shotguns and point them at us. I freeze. Hey, says Nico nice and easy. Not with a bang, but with a whimper, says the white girl in the sundress, and the guns come down. Nico hits me with the smallest slice of winks. The entire moment of peril has escaped the notice of my vigilant protector. Houdini is sniffing at the ground, digging at tufts of wild grass with his teeth. Coded phrases to get in and out of private areas will actually be quite common, I would think. The beauty of these books is everything slowly deteriorates. It's not a big shock and awe event and then the hero survives. No, this is entirely different types of books. However, by the time we do get to the end of July, Tuesday, July 24th, this asteroid is now 0.817 astronomical units from the Earth. An astronomical unit is the distance between the Earth and the Sun. Things are getting violent. On Phoenix Street, where the movie theatre still stands, the marquee still advertising the final instalment of Distant Pale Glimmers from 2 months ago, a guy wearing a baseball cap backwards is rolling by on a skateboard, clutching what looks like a 5-litre drum of spring water, trying to get somewhere fast. A young woman in flat black shoes and a housewife apron appears at the doorway of the theatre with a shotgun and shoots him in the side, and he topples off the board and into the street. Sudden, shocking, over. That's what violence looks like in war zones. But who's at war here? There is then a massive explosion. It sounds close, loud, like the stumbling tread of a dinosaur. Uh-oh, says Jordan. Looks like one of the res associations is breaking out the big guns. South Pill Hill, Abigail says. You think? She nods and looks at him like, duh, of course. This is going to be some night, says Jordan. Like the 4th. Worse, she says, gives him that look again. I'm standing here looking back and forth between the two of them. Way worse. What? I ask angrily, even though I know exactly what they're talking about. It's what McGully said, exactly what he warned, shouting in the Somerset. Just wait until the water goes out. There'll be a kind of a war, says Abigail simply, talking softly from the doorway. There's one residents' association that's been hoarding Poland spring water bottles in the gym at the YMCA. Thousands of them. Another group has got a ton in the basement of the science centre. Everyone's been hearing the rumours. Everyone's got a plan to protect their own stash and go after the other stashes. Or we could go at the reservoir, says Jordan, peeling my fingers off his arm one by one. Abigail nods. Well, yeah, the reservoir goes without saying. It's going to be like Capture the Flag, except with guns, says Jordan, and Abigail nods again. Lots of guns. As if to underscore the point, there's a second reverberating explosion, and it's hard to say whether it's closer or further than the first, but it's definitely louder. Pause, and then the chilling, multi-layered sound of a lot of people screaming at once, followed by the unmistakable typewriter rattle of machine gun fire. I'm listening to all this, breathing heavily, my head tilted to one side. It's the overwhelming police presence that has kept the fragile peace. Yeah, homeowners associations have banded together of like-minded individuals, and now they're going to go after each other to increase their stockpiles. It's like rats, really. I raise my left fist and bang on the door, shouting, "Martha!" And the door is answered by an elderly couple, cowering, hands in the air. The woman in the nightgown and the man in the slippers and pyjama bottoms pleading with me to leave them be. I exhale, step back from the door frame. "Sorry to bother you," I say. I take a step down the porch, then turn back before they close the door. "I'm a policeman," I say. "Do you have food?" They nod. "How much?" "A lot," says the woman. "Enough," says the man. "Okay," I say. Our bones are rattled by the reverberant boom from the southwest, the air of Little Pond Road and the reservoir. "Do me a favour, folks. Don't answer your door anymore." They nod, wide-eyed. "You mean tonight?" "Just don't answer your door anymore." Pretty sage advice. After a certain point, people who are knocking on the door are not going to be casual or helpful or family and friends that you want. It's something you have to take on board. Can people get into your place? Is it easy to get into your place? What are they going to do when they get in? Think about it. When rule of law disappears, we're all in trouble. The odd prepper has made some efforts to actually educate people on what to do with dead bodies in SHDF. Let's have a look at the reality of it. Jeremy's body I leave in the bathtub. There's no other option that makes sense. I happen to know that the Willard Street funeral parlour is home now to a clutch of doomsday prophets, just as I happen to know that the morgue in the basement of Concord Hospital is abandoned. Dr. Fenton now upstairs doing furious triage, along with whoever else is around. There's no way to report this death or deliver the corpse, because suddenly the streets are on fire and ours is a savage land. I lay the man out more neatly in his cloth-footed bathtub, pushing his eyelids shut with my forefingers, and go. Violence can be impressive. There is a bright and beautiful glow in the direction of downtown, a radiant bulb pulsing with light. I stare at it until I understand that this is the Capitol Dome of the State House of New Hampshire, and that it is on fire. World of Trouble is set with just 1 week to go before the impact of the asteroid, 2011 GV1. So there isn't that much violence. People are burned out at this point. They're waiting for the inevitable end in their own ways, and it's not really an aggressive time. That's come, that's gone. Having travelled quite extensively across America, our hero actually has some pertinent observations to make about cities and communities' reactions to apocalypse. When we left the town behind us, we would assign it a colour, just keeping track, just to keep ourselves amused. All the degrees of dissolution, the differing extents to which each town or city had collapsed under the weight of all of this unbearable imminence. Red towns were those of seething with active violence, towns on fire, towns beset by marauding bands, daylight shootings, food foragers and food defenders, homes under siege. Only occasionally did we encounter active law enforcement. You'd see National Guardsmen patrolling red towns in small clusters. Whether officially or unofficially it was hard to say. Brave young kids hollering for order, firing their guns in the air. Green towns were just the opposite. Communities where it seemed like some sort of agreement had been made, spoken or implied, to plug along. Folks raking leaves, pushing strollers, waving good morning, dogs on leashes or bounding after frisbees. In Media, Ohio, we were astonished to hear the SpongeBob SquarePants theme song being sung lustily by 300 or more people in a public park at dusk. After the sing-along, everyone hung on around the village green. There was a knitting circle, a book club, a demonstration on making candles, and another on making bullets. A local sports shooters association organised a hunt and gather system, traversing the local woods and farmlands to bring back venison and beef and distribute by priority. Women and children, the old, the infirm. A sure sign of a green town was some sort of a garbage system. A trash pile burning outside the city limits, or even just a dump still in use. People hauling their bags of refuse down there, going out their way for mutual benefit. Black towns are empty. Blue towns feel empty, but they're not. They just so quietly might as well be. They're empty except for the occasional scurrying nervous souls darting from one place to the other, some feeling safer in the day, some at night, peeking out of their windows, clutching guns, measuring out what they've got left. The inevitability of society's fall means that this kind of an information exchange, like reading fiction, might be dismissed by many, but I think it's important. All too often the voices we look at are the historical voices or the loudest political voices, and both of those may not actually fit the SHDF event. The lead character is a policeman, so there is quite a bit about police procedural. He's a detective and he works homicide. Dr. Fenton, impersonating a state official, carries a sentence of 10 to 25 years and is prosecuted in Title VI, meaning automatic imprisonment pending trial, which will never occur. I know that. The same penalty pertains for impeding a criminal investigation. Can I explain? No, thanks. But if you're not in the morgue in 20 minutes, you're going to jail. Without a doubt, penalties and justice are going to be harsh and swift. At the end of the last Policeman, something takes place which at the time surprised me. Guys, as of this morning, the Concord Police Department has been federalised. Nobody's saying anything. Federalised? What does that mean, I ask. Culverson shakes his head, slowly gets up, laying a steady hand on my shoulder. McGully stays where he is, tugs out a fresh cigarette and lights it. What does that mean, I ask again. Odell looks at the floor and keeps talking. They're overhauling everything, putting even more kids on the street. And they say I can keep most of my patrol officers if I want, but all under the Justice Department jurisdiction. But what does it mean, I ask for a third time. Meaning for us. What does it mean for us? The answer is obvious. I'm standing in an empty room. They're shutting down the investigative units. Basically, I shake Culverson's hand off my shoulder, drop my face down into my hands, look up again at Chief Orderly, shaking my head. Basically, the feeling is that an investigative force is relatively unnecessary given the current environment. He goes on for a while. It all gets lost for me, but after that he goes on, and at some point he stops talking and asks if there are any questions. We just look at him, and he mumbles something else and then turns and leaves. I notice for the first time that our radiator has been shut off and the room is cold. Now, to be frank with you, they might do that, but they would actually put these guys on the street. They have guns, they have weapons training, and they know what policing is. Just to lay them off, I found a little bit unbelievable, but it's good for the story. But what happens immediately after this exchange in the book is really interesting. They know, Culverson says again. We both pivot our heads towards him like marionettes. They're not supposed to know for more than a week yet, I say. April 9th, I thought. He shakes his head. Somebody knows early. What? Says McGully. And Culverson says, somebody knows where the damn thing is going to come down. There would be a huge incentive for the government to know before everybody where the thing is going to land. The book ends with the policeman losing his job. But he has caught the murderer, and he's handing the murderer over. I will alter the sea, have no clue who the murderer is. I haven't confronted the question in my heart of what happens next to the alleged murderer once they've been brought in. To tell you the God's honest truth, I don't even think I ever believed I'd be standing here. But now, I mean, what's the options? That's the questions. I'm looking at the person, and they are looking at me. And then I say, I'm sorry, and I hand him over. With so little life left, who wants to spend it inside a prison cell? You're probably not going to get very well looked after, it's going to be very crowded, and you really don't want to spend your last few weeks of life, or a few months of life, in a prison cell, do you? It's an alternate control, and that's why most people hold on and are actually civilised in the book until the very end. To conclude about violence and policing, the old lady standing guard over her grandson in an abandoned grocery store who whispered how she had shot a stranger for £6 of frozen hamburger meat. The couple at the truck stop that caught someone trying to steal the Dodge pickup they'd been living in, and an ensuing confrontation ran him over. You ready for SHTF? I know a lot of Americans swear that they have guns and they're fine and nobody's going to take their stuff without a gun battle. But a lot of gun battles actually won't be battles. They'll just people be shooting you in the back of the head or on the side when you're not expecting it from cover. Because only a fool would actually fight you like in the Old West. Most people are going to use dirty tricks. And it may not necessarily be a gun that does you in. It could be bad water or bad food or a car or fire. There will be lots of wildfires. There won't be anybody to put them out. There will be house fires because of candles and propane and kerosene and barbecues, and there'll be nobody to put them out. So wildfire risk is huge in rural areas, but also urban fires are going to be very, very problematic as the layers of order and civilization peel away. And they will peel away. We have an expiry date, 3rd of October, around about lunchtime. This asteroid is going to impact in Indonesia, and it's going to pretty much kill everybody. If not that day, then that week, and if not then, probably within a year by starvation. We all die, we all have expiry dates, we just mostly don't know what they are. But when everybody has the same expiry date, I expect there to be quite a bit of chaos and pandemonium breakout. I'd like to thank you all very much for watching. If you disagree or agree with any of the stuff I've said or brought up from this book or what would happen, please feel free to put it in the comments below. We can have a discussion about it as adults. Doodles. This has been a Sleepy Terrier on a Sunny Day production 2022.